Behind this location is the Monterey County District Attorney's Office, which declined to file criminal charges in a high-profile case 7 years ago. Nearby, the Salinas Criminal Courthouse, where the case would have been heard. This segment explores the reasons behind this decision and its implications.
Good morning. My name is William Pernik.
And I'm Roland Soltesz.
Roland and I are standing in the courtyard of Monterey County's historic courthouse. Right behind us is the Monterey County District Attorney's Office, which has 7 years ago rejected the filing of criminal charges against Pete Hegseth. To our left is the criminal courthouse in Salinas, California. This is the very same courthouse where Mr. Hegseth's criminal case would have been heard in one of its 6 felony departments. Now, last week, Roland and I have filmed a video discussing the allegations against Mr. Hegseth and bringing to you 3 important reasons why we think this case was properly rejected for filing. This is a case where a person reported sexual assault that happened on her. Police officers followed exact procedures they follow in these types of cases. They conducted an investigation, and I think possibly for one of 3 reasons. Either because they felt there was insufficient evidence to believe that Hegseth committed sexual assault, or they may have been dealing with a situation where the alleged victim or accuser in this case had a change of heart or decided to not cooperate with them further, or they simply felt that regardless of what she was saying, there was just not enough based on the facts and circumstances of the case to persuade a jury beyond a reasonable doubt. Roland, since you and I have filmed the video, some new information has come out that added additional detail to this case. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, that's correct. According to the Washington Post this morning, we learned that there was video surveillance of the incident at the hotel in Monterey County. What we learned is that Mr. Hegseth, who had recently separated from his wife, was at a bar. He was intoxicated. He was talking to some other women, and a staffer that was with the Republican Women's Convention came and talked to him and was escorting him back to his room. On the video, we see allegedly he's highly intoxicated and that the woman appears to be completely sober at that time.
Now, Roland, one of the things that I found very interesting about the intoxication narrative is that it appears that it was Mr. Hegseth and not the alleged victim or accuser in this case who was intoxicated, which is kind of the opposite of the scenario we typically see in these cases, isn't that right?
Yes, that's correct. Usually what we see is a female that is highly intoxicated and a male taking advantage of her. But in this situation, it's completely the opposite.
Now, another fact that was reported, which I found very interesting, is that the alleged victim or accuser in this case reported having very little memory of the incident until sometime later. She claimed that she had hazy memory after returning back to the hotel room with her husband and her children, which seems to imply that she may have been drugged or otherwise had some intoxicant used on her in order to overcome her free will. Now, Roland, I find the claim of intoxication very interesting in this particular case because while on one hand it implies loss of judgment, loss of self-control, it also tends to negate this new allegation that we hear that somehow this woman woke up, had hazy memory of what happened, and otherwise it suggests that she may have been drugged or intoxicated, because if Hegseth was the only person who is intoxicated, it would have been extremely difficult for that individual to somehow manipulate this lady's drink or otherwise overcome her free will.
Yes, that's correct. It's a highly suspect situation that we have here. What we normally see in these types of situations is usually where somebody participates in an activity and then they go back and they're meeting with a boyfriend or a husband. In fact, in this situation, what we know is that her husband was in the hotel room and she was 6 hours late to meeting with her. So it appears that this could have been some type of made-up explanation for why she didn't appear at her hotel room with her husband on time.
In fact, the Hegseth defense team argued, as you and I would have,
yes,
that this appears to be some sort of buyer's remorse, that this lady overspent the time in Mr. Hegseth's chambers and afterwards had a difficult time figuring out an explanation for what to tell her husband, who apparently had been running around the hotel looking for her.
Yes, that's correct.
And Roland, I find this part really interesting because if you remember in the original video that we have filmed just a couple of days ago, this was exactly the scenario that you have been describing.
They go and they tell their boyfriend or their wife finds out about it, and all of a sudden, once again, it becomes a non-consensual act when other third parties are involved.
Now, Roland, things obviously are not working out very well for Mr. Hegseth right now because he's under the spotlight. He's being scrutinized based on these allegations from 7 years ago. But from our perspective as criminal defense attorneys, advising people on how to avoid getting charged with the case or how to make sure that your defense is most successful, what are some of the lessons that we can take from the situation? What are some of the tips and tricks that we can share with our viewers so that other people too can benefit from using the situation correctly, not making mistakes, and avoiding criminal charging?
Well, the first thing that we always advise people is no matter what, do not talk to the police. Do not give a statement to the police. They will try and twist your words and try and get you to admit to something that you didn't do.
Number two, if you have done nothing wrong, never, ever, ever apologize. That apology in a courtroom can be construed as your admission to something you did not do.
Yes. Number three is be very, very wary of calls that come out of the blue asking for information or asking for an explanation. Usually, if that's a call coming out of the blue, it's the police calling you.
Number four, anytime you find yourself in a situation where somebody is accusing or you think you might be getting accused of a serious sexual assault crime, make sure to contact an experienced criminal defense attorney immediately. It appears that this is exactly what Mr. Hegseth has done, and it worked out quite well for him.
Yes, I agree with that. And number five, also remember, always, whenever you're in a situation where intoxicating substances might be used, please use in moderation. Never put yourself in a position where allegations like this can be made against you due to your intoxication.
When you consume alcohol in a social setting and you lose control to the point where you are now seen trying to invite multiple women to your room, when you're seen walking with somebody in that condition, you really do open yourself up to false allegations. Now, after filming the original video, Roland and I received a lot of commentary, a lot of questions and feedback, some negative, including from people who are our colleagues and our friends. Please remember, nothing we stated in this video is a political commentary. We're merely expressing our opinion as lawyers that facts are pesky things, and facts should be considered and not just salacious allegations that could be used to destroy a person, whether this person is somebody we like or somebody we really dislike.
Yes, it's important. Even if it's somebody we dislike, we need to be even more careful with the allegations because that's when it's easy to just assume they did something.
If our history teaches us something, it's that it's a slippery slope to tolerate false allegations or less than sufficient evidence against people we don't like. Because once we allow it against people we dislike, the next step is to allow it against people who are political opponents, and the next step is just about anybody else. So if you care about your innocence, if you care about presumption of innocence in this country, we have to hold everybody to the same exact standard, whether this person is a Democrat, a Republican, a qualified nominee for a position, or very much not. Thank you very much for watching. This is William Pernik and Roland Soltesz. Please click like, subscribe, and stay out of trouble.